Let's take a look at how to configure the auto framing features on your Q-SYS cameras.
In our camera component, we'll go to the auto framing tab. We can enable the feature here. And for testing, we can enable the outline faces feature, which gives us a green rectangle around the faces of the people in our shot. That's great for configuring, but make sure you disable it before deploying so the far-end participants don't see it. Frame padding lets us decide how much space is left around the faces that are detected. A lower value on this scale from 1 to 15 gives us a tighter crop, while a higher value produces a looser crop or more space around the faces. Deadband will adjust the number of members in your zombie rock group. And it also helps determine how much wiggle room our faces have in the frame before a reframe is triggered. This is another sliding scale from 1 to 15, where 1 indicates very little tolerance or a very tight area that a face can move around in before it reframes to a wider shot. And 15 will be lots of tolerance, where faces can move around more without triggering a wider shot. These numbers are subjective, but generally speaking, if you're going to use a low value for frame padding to get a tight crop, you probably also want to use a lower value for your deadband setting to make sure the camera will keep them in frame if they move around. On the flip side, a larger frame padding like 10 or 12 is great for a wider shot, which means you'd probably also want a larger deadband value, since you don't need to be too reactive to anyone moving around within that shot. You could even set up snapshots so you can toggle between different options. We can set the transition speed here, so you can choose between a slower, more deliberate pan all the way up to an instant snap. As you can see, some of these settings are just personal preference for fine-tuning. Let's set this one to instant. And you could use the face count feature for any number of things, like configuring some automation that says, when no faces are detected for a certain amount of time, let's display a graphic that says, we'll be right back. It's important to remember that, best case, your deployments would take advantage of multiple primary and secondary cameras and use our ACPR plugin to automatically toggle between the appropriate camera shots. This prevents the far-end caller from ever seeing the camera moving into position. If this relates to you, you'll be glad to know that auto framing can now be enabled in ACPR independently for each zone, and the plugin will make sure that auto framing has taken place before it switches cameras. Otherwise, we'll switch to the new camera view and then auto framing will happen afterwards. However, smaller deployments might only have access to a single PTZ camera, and it's unavoidable to show that camera movement to the far end. In that case, you might want to consider disabling auto framing while the camera is moving, which you can do with a clever little trick like this, using some control pins and control function components.
So give it a try. You're going to love auto framing. Thanks for watching.